Mother-32 is a tabletop semi-modular analog synthesizer. It's got, the panel that you interact with, the playing panel, and then you have a little small keyboard that acts as an interface to the sequencer. It's got a sequencer built in. And then to the right it has a patch panel. So it's as just the voice architecture of the synthesizer, it's very, very simple. It's a single VCO. You have a noise source, one VCF, that can be either low pass or high pass, and one VCA, and then some modulation, simple modulation capabilities. So, with nothing plugged in except for the output, you can make sound with it. The patch panel is really there to multiply the possibilities, so that's the semi-modular part. We did connect some wires behind the panels so that, if you're not familiar with modular, you get it out of the box, you want to make some music, you can do it right away. When we did the Sub-37, we added a step sequencer to that instrument, and it is fun. And so when we were envisioning the Mother-32, that was one of the things we wanted on there, and we thought of some very clever ways of making it very small and actually squeezing it into this form factor, which was really a challenge. The idea is that it's kind of has you can use it in a couple ways. One way is a very simple step entry where you play the notes and record them in, right? I mean, it doesn't record a real-time performance. You're populating a list of notes and rests and accents and things like that. And that's great. I mean, you can go very far with that. But there's another, as you're playing back, there's another mode you can go into where you can, in real time, turn steps on and off or edit them. And so it's designed to be a performance or non-performance sequencer, depending on how you approach it, how you'd like to use it. It's pretty flexible, so you can hook things up how you want to make the sound more complex, or to integrate it with your, if you have if you have a modular setup or a Eurorack modular setup, you can integrate it with that really easily.
You can really hear the Moog sound on a lot of older recordings. You can hear it coming back into a lot of modern recordings, and it just has this fullness that you can't really put words to. It's not like a lot of digital synthesizers that it's either this or that and it's always the same. You come across the same circuit built at a different time and it might have a slightly different color, and we work to tune in and get consistency, but it just has this life to it that you really can't typically expect from an electronic circuit. And that's definitely something that every product we put out, we definitely achieve every aspect of that original sound that we truly can. I'll get asked a lot in old recordings from friends, like, oh, is that a Moog? Is that a Moog? And it's like, no, that's not a Moog. And then the song will change and it's like, that's a Moog.
Yeah. Bob wasn't a purist about analog versus digital. He wasn't, and it's not. And I don't think that's not the value is analog versus digital. No, they're both tools. Sometimes it's convenient to work on your laptop. Sometimes it's very convenient to turn that computer off. And that's where the hardware stuff is. And the hardware stuff, an analog synth, is right there. You're connecting to the circuit, and how that makes you feel, how that makes you react. I mean, that's really up to you, the user. But I'm here to tell you that in my experience, you go straight to making music with a hardware synth, whereas in a computer, it gets back again to like having too many possibilities. It's really, sometimes it's kind of crippling and creatively. And so yeah, turn off the computer sometimes. Use your hardware synths, make music.
Especially if you've learned to play on an instrument. It's like that's where your creativity comes. It's on the instrument you learned on. And when you take that away and you put a computer in front of you, especially if it's something you've worked on for writing papers, doing schoolwork, accounting, whatever it might be, where it can be a really musical device, it's just not what you were trained on musically. And so to a beginner, I think that's really important, to be able to just turn it on and make noise and have really cool sounds coming out of it.
I mean, for instance, with the Mother-32, as we discussed, it's semi-modular, so you don't need patch cables to make sound. So you can learn what the oscillator does, what the filter does, what the VCA does, without the patch cables. And then after you learn what those things do, then you can start adding patch cables and learning how does this route to this, and what does it do, and the principle of what modular synthesis is really pretty simple. You have some sort of signal source, and it has an output, and then it's going to go to the next thing that has an input, and you just break it down into what's your signals that you're listening to, and then what are the signals that you're using to change the sound. If you like exploring things, if you're a curious person, modular synthesizers are really pretty addictive, actually. They're really fun, and it's hard to stop thinking about some of the things you can do if you like them.